Hi everyone, thank you for dropping in. We're going to check out all the main news stories around Thailand today, but one story dominates, a very sad story. Let's go to it. And this is a story covered by BBC.com. Jailed Thai activist, 28, dies after hunger strike. And Netiporn, better known as Bung, Sanesangkhom, died after her heart stopped suddenly on Tuesday morning. The 28-year-old, part of the youth movement calling for royal reforms, had been detained since January the 26th, facing 7 separate charges, including 2 of insulting the monarchy. And she began her hunger strike the next day, only accepting water once in late February, but she was accepting food from April. Ms. Sanesangkhom was accused in 2 cases of lèse majesté, one relating to asking the public's views on the disruption caused by royal motorcades. And just noting a bit further down there, the Thai Lawyers for Human Rights note that about 260 charges have been filed under the lèse majesté law in Thailand since 2020. Now, if we go back to 2020, we recall that there was, fairly tumultuous times. Firstly, there was the lockdowns and all the other disruption caused by the COVID pandemic. But beyond that, it also was a time when students, maybe because they had time on their hands, took to the streets to call for reform, to changes in the constitution that would codify the role of the royal family. But this was perceived by a lot of people, those people waving the yellow flags, as some sort of insult to the monarchy. And these people have not been treated well, including being put in prison. Some 260 people charged for lèse majesté since 2020. But let's go to this Khaosod English Facebook page, and they talk about Thammasat University Hospital issued a statement yesterday afternoon saying they tried their best in administering CPR in a failed bid to revive the lèse majesté detainee Netiporn. And apparently her heart stopped beating at 6:25 a.m. in the morning. CPR was administered by doctors at the Corrections Department Hospital. She was then transferred to the Thammasat University Hospital, and she continued to receive CPR while being transported, and then doctors at the Thammasat University Hospital continued to administer CPR until 11:22. And then it notes that Bung was on a prolonged period of partial hunger strikes for 110 days, calling for judicial reform and an end to the detention of political detainees. So the 28-year-old's body had to endure CPR for some 5 hours, noting that it can be fairly rigorous. I've had to use CPR on a person in the past, and of course you're doing the best to try and keep the people alive, but you do have to push quite forcefully. But she was declared dead at 11:22 yesterday. And we move on to this next story. This is from BangkokPost.com. Activists call for release of political detainees. And a former Red Shirt leader posted his condolences on Facebook saying, "No one is supposed to die for thinking differently." And he said he hoped Netiporn's passing would be the last of its kind and urged the government to release all students, just remember they are students, currently facing charges under Section 112 of the Criminal Code, which is the lèse majesté law. And Panika Wanik, a core member of the progressive movement, wrote on social media, "Do we need to wait for another death so people will realise those who have different opinions should not go to jail or die?" And the Opposition Move Forward party posted on its Facebook page that it firmly believes that rights, liberty and freedom of expression should be granted to all people in a democracy. Part of that statement said this is an important moment and every party should create a safe zone for everyone to find a way out of the political conflict, especially granting bail for suspects associated with politics-related cases. And David Daly, the EU ambassador to Thailand, wrote on social media that he was saddened by the passing of Netiporn, and ambassadors from the US, Belgium, Denmark, Germany, the Netherlands and Sweden posted similar messages. So there will certainly be some sort of outpouring of grief for 28-year-old Bung over the next 24 hours. And I would have thought also an opportunity for reflection on some of these political detainees who were just speaking out on something that they thought was important. They weren't violent, they were vociferous though back in 2021, and this is really just I suppose, a delayed reaction to all that was happening 2 or 3 years ago during, more tumultuous times here in Thailand. But I would have thought this is also an opportunity to reflect for the establishment in Thailand, putting these people with a different voice into prison. And we mourn the passing of Bung. We'd like to acknowledge our main sponsor, 5-Star Marine at 5starmarinephuket.com. A big thank you to Sean and the team for their ongoing support, and they'll certainly look after you and take you out on the waters of Phangar Bay. You can go to their website, check the testimonials, check the destinations, and I'm sure they'll take you on a memorable trip next time you're down in the south of Thailand. Now, a follow-up to a story that was a follow-up yesterday, and another person caught in the murder of that South Korean. The Bangkok Post reporting second Korean suspect in barrel murder arrested. And the photo caption says the second suspect in the barrel murder case, the dark shirt centre, during his arrest by Cambodian security authorities yesterday. And a second South Korean suspect in the murder of a man found dead in a concrete-filled barrel in a reservoir near Pattaya has been arrested in Phnom Penh and is being handed over to Korean authorities. Why hand it over to Korean authorities? The crime happened in Thailand. I would have thought that he would be sent back to Thailand for charges in this country and then, perhaps extradited if that was seen to be appropriate. But the tourist who was murdered was South Korean, as was this person. But it seems strange that he's been sent back to Korea. And the story says the suspect is 27 years old and was arrested at a lodging around midnight after a tip-off that he was seen in the area. And he's the second suspect in the case to be arrested following the capture of Lee Arun, who's in his 20s, at his house in southwestern South Korea on Sunday after he'd fled Thailand. Now, Thai PBS World, you'd get a bit confused if you're reading these stories in succession. It says, third suspect in South Korean's murder apprehended in Phnom Penh. Well, actually referring to the same person. And I'll just read this line first. One of 3 suspects is in Thai police custody, while the 2 others are in Cambodia and South Korea. So that does account for all 3 suspects. This person, the way this story is framed, is the third suspect to be caught and charged. And police are now confirming that the deceased was Ro Yu Zhong. And investigators are waiting for official reports from the Institute of Forensic Medicine at the Police General Hospital before they can wrap up the case and seek warrants for the arrests of the 3 suspects on charges of premeditated murder, illegal detention and concealment of a dead body to conceal a crime. Well, this is all getting a bit messy. One of them is currently in detention in Thailand, another one in detention in South Korea, and it looks like the one found in Phnom Penh on Monday is also being sent back to South Korea. So it's going to just be a little bit of a legal mess. And we head off now to our next story, which is another update, a bit more information. This covered in nationthailand.com. It's headed Cannabis to be classified as soft drug. This is from the Public Health Minister. Now, I understand some of you have grievances about these proposed changes and the way that they're going about it. If you do have problems, I wouldn't be directing them at me. I'd be directing them at the Public Health Minister, who is the one who's got to pull all this together and present something to Parliament. And in a move to deter recreational use, the Public Health Ministry is planning to put cannabis back on the Category 5 narcotics list, but classify it as a soft drug, under which its production, import, export and use will be regulated by the Ministry. And cannabis products, and this is important to remember, meanwhile had previously been classified as drugs when they contain more than 0.2% of THC. And I humbly ask the question, do you think those cannabis shops, of some 6,000 to 8,000 apparently around Thailand, have been selling cannabis with more than 0.2% THC? I'd just ask the question. The article goes on, the ambiguous usage terms and possession limit of cannabis have been subject to debate ever since. And Somsak said he planned to invite entrepreneurs in cannabis-related businesses to discuss the drafting of updated ministry regulations after relisting of the plant as a narcotic. He promised that the new regulations would be flexible, with the plant being allowed for use under a doctor's prescription, a traditional Thai medicine, and for medical research. And he said the ministry has yet to set a clear timeline for issuing the new regulations on Category 5 drugs, but he believed it could be completed within this year. And when asked about the possibility of classifying cannabis as an addictive substance instead, similar to tobacco and liquor, Somsak said that this move is easier said than done. And I'll continue to bring you any little nuances, any snippets of information as we stumble forward that might give people, especially the stakeholders, any understanding of what might be happening as the government moves forward with this bill. So yesterday we were speaking about some international flights coming back to Koh Samui Airport, good for the island, and this was Scoot Airways flying from Singapore. I think it was at least one flight a day and some more to be added in June. But a bit of good news for Hua Hin as well. And the Public Relations Department of the Thai government said to upgrade Pech Hua Hin Airport, seems to be a new name, as an international airport and become a regional aviation hub. Let's go to this Hua Hin Today story at huahintoday.com. PM inspect Hua Hin Airport, expansion to be completed in 2 years. And the Prime Minister Srettha Thavisin conducted an inspection of the Hua Hin Airport as part of the government's push to elevate the facility to international standards and transforming it into a regional transportation hub. And significant upgrades have already been undertaken to prepare the airport for international traffic. These include the expansion of the runway to 2,100 metres in length and 60 metres wide, inclusive of shoulders, making it suitable for the Airbus A320, the predominant aircraft model currently operating at the airport. Well, currently the airport is served by Thai Air Asia with daily flights to Chiang Mai, and the PM said the upgrades to Hua Hin Airport will be fully complete within the next 2 years, which would be 6 months ahead of schedule. Well, it seems to be one of those airports that just seems to be languishing ever since I've been here in Thailand. Now, I've driven to Bangkok a number of times, and you actually travel on the highway underneath part of the runway. So I'm sure the people of Hua Hin now would be happy for some more traffic to be coming through that airport. Let's go to this story, and it's covered in the BangkokPost.com. It says, court warrant sought to test psychic boy. And the Social Development and Human Security Ministry is seeking a court warrant to take 8-year-old Nong Nice to psychologist after his parents continued to refuse requests by the authorities to make a house visit to assess the boy's mental condition. His parents claim he possesses telepathic powers that can connect people's minds. And we'll find out more about these so-called magic powers in just a moment. But this is an interesting one where you've got the national religion versus, well, the needs and the social welfare of this particular child. And he also professes to be a son of Lord Buddha in a previous life, who's acquired the miraculous powers associated with the Naga, a giant serpent in Thai mythology. However, officials have repeatedly been refused direct access to the boy, which prompted the office to petition the Juvenile and Family Court for permission to see Nong Nice and perform a mental appraisal on him. A court warrant is needed as the boy's family have not been cooperative. The minister admitted the case has been off the radar for some time, as the boy is not a monk and not technically under the National Office of Buddhism's jurisdiction. Let's go to a bit more. This is covered in calsodenglish.com, an opinion piece that says, phenomenal 8-year-old boy spiritual leader, a damning verdict on Thai education system. Adults, men and women flock to offer him money, have him blessed. They also seek to have their inner psychic channel activated and supposedly made directly accessible via live streaming into their heads. Buddhist teachings via Nong Nice, wherein their new spiritual leader does not have to utter a single word. And to see it is to believe, but to this writer, And the writer is Prawit Rojanapruk from Calsot English. To watch these video clips is to feel sorry for not just these adults, the boy himself, but the Thai educational system. Why bother learning anything about basic science at school when you have Nong Nice to believe in? And a few more comments from Thai.news, Thailand's breaking news, and their headline, Child Prodigy or Pretense. Thailand intrigued by Nong Nice's claims as Buddha's reincarnation. And as tensions rise and the plot thickens, a defiant voice emerges from the depths of social media. And are people rising in defence of the 8-year-old guru? Threats of legal action against media outlets spreading what they perceive to be slanderous tales have echoed through Facebook, stirring up a storm of debates and discussions. Amidst this brewing tempest of opinions and emotions, the page's operator takes a stand, reaching out to the Prime Minister in a plea for justice, demanding measures to shield Nong Nice's reputation from the barrage of negativity. So history is littered with these gurus and the consequences of the people that follow them, and it's going to be an interesting balancing act for the Thai government as they try and work their way through this one, the needs of the child, and of course the belief, probably the very strong belief that some people have of this young person's superpowers. But we'll follow that one with interest and see how the government wades their way through it. But hopefully we'll get your comments on that story and other stories we've spoken about today. Keep it nice and keep it interesting. We look forward to your comments. Please subscribe to the channel. Please support our sponsor, 5starmarinephuket.com. And we'll see you tomorrow.